This is Jack Berkowitz. This is our ongoing series of interviews with data leaders and C-level executives talking about issues with data management, data security, and now really AI security, AI governance, and all the things pressing on CDOs today. Again, my name is Jack Berkowitz. I'm the Chief Data Officer of Securiti.ai. We're a company that specializes in those topics. We specialize in data and AI security, data and AI governance, and really helping people use those assets to build new experiences. And with me today is Abe Wood. He's a technical consultant with a long career in data, AI, and everything analytics. So, Abe, welcome to the interview.
Thank you, Jack. Really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for allowing me here. This is great because I do have quite the crazy background. So whatever we want to go into, I'm happy with it.
Well, let's dive in, right? So we've both been in the business for quite a while. And, you know, I got to tell you, sometimes when I look at what's going on in the business and the industry, and I look at people rediscovering some things,
Yeah.
or they've discovered some things, but maybe they're rediscovering things that folks have discovered before. And so I know you have a long background in sort of data warehousing, but also business analytics. So maybe talk to me about what you're seeing in the business, what's new, but also what's new again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, and maybe I'll give you kind of the some of the pain points, if that helps. I think for first and foremost, having the IT teams understanding fully how the business operates is lacking in every company, every organization. So I think that there needs to be some sort of pipeline or some sort of educational process that goes on into that aspect of it. So because I think IT teams are they a lot of times they come in and they often, what network do we have? What do I support? What do I support? Rather than having that deep knowledge of, here's what the business does, and here's how they operate, and here's the reason behind it. Because IT wouldn't be there if it weren't for the business. So if you don't understand that, you can never build these pipelines. You can never build the data warehouses, the AI platforms on top of it, because you're not, you don't necessarily understand what the business is doing, nor what they need. And I think that's probably my number one thing that's lacking. And then another thing that adds to that is once IT understands that, security can be built out. So then you've got, my whole career has been, very heavy in SOX compliance. But if you don't have that immediate knowledge, um, or that collaboration, with the multiple groups, then it could be a major challenge. And then once that happens, then you could really go into, here, now I know how to build it for you because I know what your pain points are. I know where you're getting your data, those types of things. And then you really need a good architect that really understands your organization's infrastructure and your total structure.
Let's take that a little bit deeper because this is really the tension I'm hearing, right? And I came up through building analytics products. I was a software development leader, but then also the chief data officer of a Fortune 500. Um, but with this advent of all the Gen AI technologies, and hey, it's quick. You don't need this IT group. Where do you see that balance between, corporations understanding that, but also, C-level executives saying, no, actually, I don't really trust everything just going to happen because, we tried that before and we had problems, you know?
Right. And that's interesting that you say that, Jack, because it's one of the areas that we have pushed back in my entire career is citizen dev. And we call it citizen dev when the business develops all of it. And they start, you know, not trusting IT anymore. And they go off and buy some system and build it themselves. Um, and I think the education there between the education, the partnerships between IT and the business partners needs to be there so that they understand that, IT knows the technology and can especially implement the security and the data pipelines. And I think that's where there's a big gap um, when they do those types of citizen dev um,
Yep.
initiatives.
But there's also the argument that, and I ran those teams myself, that hey, these teams take a long time. Why
Yeah,
why is it so hard? I can just sit down and use ChatGPT today and ask it a question. It'll give me an answer. Now,
yeah.
whether or not the answer is correct is never brought up. But um, how do you really sort of help them understand that you're moving at the pace that they need to move at the same time as taking control or helping them take control of their remit?
And that's always a challenge that I've faced. And to be completely honest, a lot of it has to do with funding. So, do I have enough, software engineers? Do I have enough DBAs? Do I have enough network engineers? And if I don't, then we need to figure out a partnership to potentially get additional budget and convince them that it needs to be built out in a structured framework that we have security built on top of it. And that security really comes in, like I said, SOX compliance. I dealt with a lot of SOC 2 stuff at my previous job. And SOC, neither of them are easy to deal with. But I think if you get that partnership with the business, that's where it really comes in to um, try to figure out the next path. And
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. It's I want it now and I want real time. And why is IT the blocker?
yeah,
Um, and I think, there's certain ways that you can do it to implement things to get it faster for them. Um, and that's kind of where that my first statement, you go in, get the business understanding and get that partnership established. And then you can say, okay, I can implement, phase one pretty quickly. But phase two, phase three are going to be a little bit more complex because either we don't have the technology implemented yet, or we don't have the human resources.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's kind of a mix. But I usually, in my career, I've always tried to be really um, honest with them and partner with them, whereas not just taking orders from them.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, nobody wants to just be, hey, deliver this on some paper spec, and I'll let you
Yeah,
know where it's at. So where do you think all this goes, right? We've seen, billions of dollars being spent on, next generation data warehouses, which, I used to work with Oracle years ago,
I know
Well,
it
wait a
very well.
second. These are data warehouses, right? And you're
Yeah,
actually running the exact same test. So, we're seeing iterations on technology to enable these things, but turns out they're the same, right? Where do you where do you see things going next? What's going to make that breakthrough that hasn't happened to date? Because really, if you look at the architectures of today, except for the LLMs, everything else is kind of like it was in the 80s and 90s.
yeah. A lot of it hasn't changed. You're absolutely right. And I think one of the top drivers from my perspective about this whole new driving generation of AI and ML is going to be the cost of the systems. And I think that I've done a lot of cloud migration, um, managed a lot of cloud or oversaw a lot of cloud migration initiatives, and I think that's going to be a huge driver because your return on investment is going to be um, the biggest views for executives. And one of the areas that Oracle Cloud is very expensive, Google Cloud is very expensive, Azure is very expensive, Snowflake is cheap, AWS is reasonable. So I do think there's going to be some direction from the IT side of it to gain that level of expertise and go down that path of, here business, return on investment if we get out of this cloud or get off these on-prem systems and we go to, let's just hypothetically say, Snowflake, um, rather than an Oracle database, it's going to save you this much money. And then I could potentially hire one more person to contractor to implement it for you. So I think that's really where the focus is going to start going is, and then how do we get things on top of it? So what is the easiest system that we can, put in Tableau, Power BI, Splunk, Zabbix, Grafana, whatever system that is needed between AI and ML. I think those are going to have to be very. I would say IT needs to get a bit more educated on every front in terms of architecture overall. So that's kind of where I'm going with my consulting.
Gotcha.
It's
Gotcha.
giving that guidance.
Okay, great. Well, look, Abe, why don't we wrap it up there? It's been great having you on.
I
And
appreciate
thank you
it.
so much. And early morning in San Francisco, you guys can see behind him, dawn is setting, or maybe that's sunset. I'm not sure. Um, but anyway, thank you all very much. My name's
Yeah,
Jack. With me today was Abe Wood. My name's Jack Berkowitz. I'm the Chief Data Officer of Security.ai. We're a company that specializes in data and AI security, data and AI governance. And we actually have new capabilities where you can build, using our GenCore framework, a new capability for building governed and secure RAG patterns using LLMs. So thank you very much. And we'll talk to you soon.
thank you guys. I appreciate it.